Before the city wakes, the heart of the world's largest biscuit factory begins to beat.
Every single day, hundreds of tons of wheat, sugar, and milk arrive at these gates.
Pneumatic systems take over, transporting ingredients without a single human touch. Liquid glucose and sugar syrup are kept at precise temperatures to maintain viscosity.
The mixing hall, a cathedral of stainless steel awaiting the morning shift.
Before mixing, the flour passes through a multi-stage sifting process to ensure purity.
Automation controls every gram, eliminating human error from the recipe.
Ingredients are weighed in mid-air, dropping directly into the mixing bowls below.
Before a single biscuit is baked, the raw potential of the harvest is gathered here.
A vast vascular system of pneumatic tubes ensures that every gram of ingredient travels untouched by human hands until the moment of mixing.
While automation drives the speed, it is the experienced eye of the production engineer that guarantees the legacy of the taste.
At the mixing station, the team performs their final checks, ensuring the machinery is ready to handle the immense torque required for the dough.
The recipe is precise and unyielding. A calibrated kit of flour, sugar, and syrup, and
Massive helical blades fold the mixture tirelessly, generating the gluten network that gives the biscuit its structure.
Every second of mixing is monitored digitally, balancing the friction heat to prevent the dough from becoming too tough. Once the perfect consistency is reached, the batch is released, a massive, singular entity ready to be shaped.
Once the gluten network is fully developed, the mixer tilts, surrendering the dense payload to gravity.
the dough is heavy and sticky, requiring high-torque conveyors to move the massive batch toward the next stage.
As it travels, the dough rests briefly, a vital pause that ensures the biscuits won't shrink during baking.
Before molding, the bulk mass must be broken down into a consistent, granular feed.
Bucket elevators hoist the mixture to the overhead gantries, using gravity to feed the machines below.
Optical sensors monitor the flow, ensuring only pure, contaminant-free dough reaches the molder. Inside the hopper, screw feeds compress the loose granules back into a solid sheet. Pressure builds as the dough is forced into the molding drum, ready to receive the Parle-G insignia.
Once the mixing cycle is complete, the entire 1,000-kilogram batch is hydraulically tipped into the feeding system.
Gravity and heavy-duty conveyors take over, transporting the dough towards the sheeting station.
Before it can be molded, the chaotic mass must be tamed into a workable sheet. Quality control sensors scan every inch of the dough, ensuring purity before the shaping process begins. Giant steel rollers apply tons of pressure, forcing the air out and creating a continuous, dense slab. A series of gauge rolls gradually steps down the thickness, stretching the dough without tearing it.
The result is a perfectly uniform sheet, calibrated to the exact millimeter, ready for the molding die. Once the gluten network is fully developed, hydraulic systems tip the half-ton bowl, releasing the viscous mass for the next stage of processing.
Gravity feeds the line, dropping the mixture onto high-friction belts that will carry it toward the pre-sheeting machinery. Speed is critical here. The dough must reach the molders before the temperature drops and the consistency hardens. Before molding can begin, the kibbler breaks the dense batch into uniform granules, ensuring an even feed into the hopper. Quality control is continuous. The texture must remain pliable enough to take the intricate design of the iconic mold. Magnetic sensors scan every ounce of the mixture, guaranteeing purity before the dough enters the shaping machinery.
An inclined conveyor lifts the prepared dough to the overhead hopper, using gravity to feed the high-speed rotary molder below.
This buffer stock ensures constant pressure on the molding rollers, a key variable for consistent biscuit weight and thickness.
Once the gluten network is fully developed, the 12-ton batch is released. The transfer system must handle this.
The dough travels at a precise speed, allowing it brief moment to rest. This relaxation period is crucial.
Before shaping begins, every millimeter of the mixture passes through advanced metal detectors. Safety protocols are redundant and
Primary rollers compress the loose mass into a rough sheet. This initial compression forces air bubbles.
Gravity does the work here, feeding the mixture from the mezzanine level directly into the hopper of the rotary molder below.
Before molding, the kibbler breaks the continuous sheet into uniform chunks. This ensures the hopper is filled evenly. The hopper acts as a buffer, maintaining a constant pressure head. Consistent pressure is the secret.
Beneath the surface, heavy-duty drive systems work tirelessly. These chains will run for 24 hours straight, pausing only for scheduled maintenance cycles.
Once the gluten network is fully developed, gravity initiates the transfer, moving 500 kilograms of raw dough into the feeding system.
Before it can be sheeted, the dense mass must be broken down by the kibbler into manageable, uniform chunks.
Sensors regulate the flow, ensuring the sheeting machines receive a constant, uninterrupted supply of material.
The primary rollers apply tons of pressure, merging the loose chunks into a single, cohesive sheet. Successive gauge rollers reduce the thickness incrementally, stretching the dough without tearing its delicate structure. Despite the automation, experienced hands periodically check the elasticity, ensuring the dough will hold the intricate Parle-G design. A continuous sheet enters the rotary molder, where the defining moment of the process awaits.
A solid brass die cuts and prints the iconic design simultaneously, creating thousands of biscuits every single minute.
Once the gluten network is fully developed, hydraulic arms tilt the massive bowl, releasing over a ton of dough into the transfer system.
The mixture is now transported via high-speed belts toward the molding section, a journey that allows the dough to rest briefly.
Gravity feeds the production line below, using vertical chutes to break the mass into manageable clusters for the machinery. Before it can be shaped, the dough must be compressed into a consistent sheet, eliminating air pockets that could cause fragility.
Quality control is paramount. Every centimeter of dough is scanned electronically to ensure absolute purity before it reaches the molds.
To ensure the biscuits have the correct texture, the dough sheet is actually broken back down into a granular crumble just before molding.
A forcing roller pushes this granular mix into the die, using immense pressure to solidify the shape instantly.
Nothing is wasted in the Parle-G factory. Trimmings and excess dough are automatically routed back to the start to be reincorporated.
Once the mixing cycle concludes, the 800-kilogram batch must be integrated into the continuous flow of the line. Sensors regulate the speed of the belt, ensuring the molding equipment downstream is never starved of material. Before molding can begin, the kibbler breaks the dense mass into manageable granules, ensuring consistent density. Gravity and the forcing rolls compress the granules, purging air pockets to create a solid, uniform sheet.
The heart of the line is the rotary molder, where the iconic rectangular shape and logo are stamped into existence.
A canvas web extracts the biscuits from the mold, transferring them gently onto the wire mesh oven band.
Nothing is wasted. Excess dough is immediately collected and returned to the hopper to begin the cycle again.
Entering the tunnel oven, the dough begins its 4-minute transformation under intense, controlled heat. Once the gluten network is fully developed, the batch is discharged onto the transfer lines. Steel rollers exert tons of pressure to transform the bulk mass into a consistent sheet. Precision gauging reduces the sheet thickness to exactly 3 millimeters.
The rotary molder imprints the iconic design, shaping thousands of biscuits per minute.
Perfectly spaced, the raw biscuits begin their approach to the baking line.
They transfer from the canvas web to the steel mesh oven band.
Entering the tunnel oven, the dough faces a graduated heat profile. Inside, the oven spring occurs immediately, setting the biscuit structure. Once the gluten network is fully developed, the mixer hydraulically tilts, releasing nearly a ton of dough onto the primary transfer belt.
Gravity assists the process, guiding the mixture through a series of hoppers designed to maintain a consistent flow rate without compressing the dough too early.
Traveling at precise speeds, the dough relaxes on the conveyor, allowing the gluten strands to align before they reach the high-pressure molding unit.
Before molding, the kibbler breaks the massive dough chunks into a manageable sheet, ensuring a uniform density across the entire production line.
Automated sentinels scan the passing stream, checking for foreign objects and density variations at speeds the human eye cannot track.
A consistent bank of dough must be maintained at the hopper inlet to ensure the rotary molder receives a steady, pressurized feed.
Inside the feed chamber, agitator arms prevent air pockets from forming, forcing the dough into the rollers with immense hydraulic pressure. Despite the automation, experienced engineers constantly monitor the feed rate, making micro-adjustments to ensure the dough enters the molder perfectly.
Once the gluten network is fully developed, the massive batch is released onto the transfer system. The texture must be precise. Too dry and it crumbles, too wet and it clogs the molding dies. Gravity feeds the mixture into the pre-sheeting rollers, maintaining a constant pressure head. This vertical drop helps to de-aerate the dough before it enters the compression zone. High-torque rollers compress the loose mixture into a unified, dense sheet ready for molding.
Laser sensors constantly monitor the sheet thickness, adjusting the roller gap in milliseconds.
Excess dough is immediately recycled back into the feed, ensuring zero waste in the process.
The dough sheet now approaches the rotary molder, where the iconic identity of the biscuit is born.
Gravity does the heavy lifting here, transferring half-ton batches from the mixing floor to the forming line without compromising the dough's texture.
Before it can be shaped, the dense dough must be broken down by the kibbler, ensuring a consistent feed into the molder.
The rotary molder is the artist of the assembly line, imprinting the legendary design onto thousands of biscuits every single minute. Speed and spacing are paramount. The canvas belt ensures each biscuit enters the oven with enough room to rise and breathe.
Nothing goes to waste. Excess dough is immediately looped back into the system, maintaining efficiency and consistency. At the panning stage, the biscuits transfer to a steel mesh band, ready to face the intense heat of the gas-fired ovens.
They enter the tunnel oven, a massive thermodynamic chamber where temperature zones are controlled to within a single degree.
Inside, the dough experiences oven spring. In just minutes, they will transform from soft clay into crisp, golden biscuits.
Once wrapped, individual packets are grouped and automatically loaded into bulk transport cartons. Robotic arms take over the heavy lifting, stacking cartons onto pallets with geometric precision.
The finished goods enter a massive vertical storage facility, waiting for distribution.
Millions of biscuits are catalogued here, forming a buffer to meet fluctuating market demands.
Loaded with tons of fresh product, these vehicles begin their journey to distributors across the country. As day turns to night, the facility continues its work, operating 24 hours a day.
A complex network of logistics ensures that these biscuits reach millions of tea shops and homes daily.
Logistics teams work in perfect sync to load hundreds of trucks daily, ensuring the supply chain never breaks.
From this single point of origin, the Biscuits begin a journey that spans thousands of miles across the nation.
Advanced tracking systems monitor every shipment, guaranteeing freshness and availability in even the smallest villages.
As the sun sets, the factory does not sleep. A new shift arrives to keep the ovens burning through the night.
Behind every packet lies a massive infrastructure dedicated to consistency, quality, and scale.
But despite the automation and the massive machinery, it is the dedication of the workforce that makes it all possible.
And that's how Parle-G biscuits are made, from raw materials to the final product.